Okay, by that, I think we can start. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's investor webinar featuring Chosa Oncology. My name is Björn Andersson. I work at Västra Hamnen Corporate Finance, and I will be your host for today's session. Before we get started, just a quick note. We will have a Q&A session at the end of the presentation. You're welcome to submit your questions at any time during the webinar using the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen. Today's presentation will give you deeper insight into Chosa Oncology's platform, clinical development plans, and strategic outlook. Joining us today is Chosa Oncology's CEO, Buhl Jensen, and CCO, Claus Frisenberg, and they will walk us through the company's strategy, current status, and upcoming milestones. With that, I'll hand over the floor to Peter and Claus. Please go ahead.
Thank you.
Thank you, Björn.
Thank you. A little bit of background about Chosa. So myself, I'm a previous professor at Västra in Copenhagen, and in Chosa we have a very small team, but we have experience and been working on drug development before. We actually have in our team 2 products approved by the FDA, and also one by the European Medicines Agency. We have, I think, a fantastic timing with what we're doing right now, and I look forward to present that today. And I will now share the presentation. Just a second. And so what we have in Chosa is, no, what's happened? How does that, so now it's here, yeah. So what we have in Chosa is a technology that can increase the efficacy of a very important anti-cancer drug by more than 80%. And I'll just give the word now to Claus.
Okay, thank you, Peter, and welcome everyone. Just a few words on my background. I am not a scientist by training, but as Peter, he usually claims that I should know a little after having worked together with Peter and the team for more than 10 years. I have a finance and strategy background, and I'm involved in our commercial activities towards partners, potential partners, and also towards investors. So I will kick off this presentation, and then there will be an exchange on the way between Peter and I, so we get a little dynamics into the presentation. Peter, next slide. So first one is the disclaimer. So whatever Peter and I will say, you cannot use it against us. So this is just a formality that we need to go on. And then if we continue to the next slide, Peter, here for all of you, this is if you forget what we're saying on the way, then please remember this slide or what we have here. So Chosa Oncology, we are a precision medicine company. We have our own proprietary solution that can more than double the efficacy rate of patient or the chemotherapy given to patients where platinum is involved. And in particular, it's relevant in combination with PD-L1 products, one of the most significant areas of cancer treatment right now in the market, and we are relevant in multiple indications. What is about this PD-L1 immune therapy market is that it's growing significantly. Last year, it had a value of more than $50 billion, and it is expected to grow to more than $150 billion in annual revenue by 2032. And also the most known drug in this area, that's Keytruda, which is actually the most valuable drug across all disease areas. So it's even more valuable than some of the drugs targeted obesity. We have a number of upcoming milestones. Peter will talk more about this a little down this presentation. We have some very interesting inflection points over the next 6 to 12 months, and we can do so with very limited capital. We're also having a lot of partnering activities going on, both with key opinion leaders. So this is the influences of the medical industry. We're working together with large research groups, both in Europe and the US, and we also have dialogues with big pharma. So in total, we could say that we are on a very good road or track towards a guideline introduction and potentially also FDA approval. Yes, next slide. So one of the reasons why we are here today and why we are presenting here together with Västra Hamnen is that we have initiated a hybrid issue. We have conducted a directed issue that went on in the beginning of June, and then we have alongside this we are proposing, or we are offering a rights issue to all existing shareholders on equal terms to what was given to the directed issue. So in total, we are aiming at 20 million SEK. We already got close to 4 million in the directed issue. We also got some commitments to the rights issue, which is currently going on. It started on the 12th of June and is running until the 26th. So what is the structure of our offering? Yes, for every 8 shares that you are currently holding in the company, you will get 3 units. And 1 unit consists of 3 shares and 3 warrants. And the price for this unit is 186 SEK, which is equal to 162 SEK, or 0.62 SEK per share, which includes also the warrant, which is there for free. The exercise of the warrant can take place next July, so July 26th, and it is having a strike price which is equal to 20% off up from the current offering price. So it's 0.78 SEK per warrant compared to the 0.62 that we are offering for the ones that are being issued right now. It's also important to state that we have a runway with this offering that will be significantly prolonged if we are succeeding with a full subscription. Currently, we have a burn rate of close to 7 million SEK per year. So the majority of our proceeds will be used on KOL studies. So that is studies that we will be doing together with key opinion leaders in Europe and in the US. And then the rest will go to our normal working capital. So that's our normal operation that will also be secured from these proceeds. We have a number of inflection points, as mentioned. We are at the end here of Q2. Maybe it will go a little into Q3, but we have a lung cancer study that we are working on. We'll get back to that. In Q3 this autumn, we will hopefully be able to announce a new partnerships with research groups in Europe and the US. And also later this year, we will include new indications of our study portfolio. And then early next year, so early January, February 26, we will have a new study published in lung cancer where we are looking into the combination treatment of PD-1 and chemotherapy. And this will actually also be leading, if successful, it will lead into an initiation of an FDA process. So that's short about the offering. And Peter, over to you.
Thank you. So let me see. So basically, we all hear about sort of advantages in lung cancer and in other cancers treatment. But in essence, it's still very, very difficult to treat cancer. And in effect, what you see is that only 25% of products actually give the sort of the results when given to cancer patients that we hope for. So 75% of all cancer treatments actually have some or no effect on the tumor, and you could say patients certainly suffer the side effects, and it can be very serious, but it can also just be delaying outcome, and it can cost the healthcare system also. What we have is a product that is actually a little bit more effective than most of them. It's working in 40% of patients. It's a platin, so there are two drugs, cisplatin and carboplatin, and around a number of cancers, platinum, either cisplatin or carboplatin is quite effective. But we also see a situation now where we can stop treating patients like they were all the same. We can benefit on our response prediction. So cisplatin was the first product on the market, and it was actually very, very early on. It's like 50 years ago that one of our Danish traveling cyklister, he was cured for his testicular cancer, and later Lance Armstrong was also cured for testicular cancer. So it's a dangerous sport, you could say, but it's definitely a very, very important product. Before that, people died of testicular cancer, and it kind of works in 90% of the cases. This is not how it is in many other cases, in lung cancer and other cancers. It's basically used in 16 different cancers, but in testicular cancer, it's exceptionally active. It's been there for 50 years, and its mechanism of action is complex, and also what happens when it doesn't work is complex, and it's not been possible to identify who would actually benefit and who would not. But that's where we have a technology. So I'll go into lung cancer, where there's been some sort of huge developments within the last couple of years. It used to be that cisplatin was the only drug for lung cancer. But then there came the understanding of our own immune system, and it was possible to get the immune system activated. And what was seen was there was a synergy with cisplatin. So when giving the immune therapy together with platinum, there was a sort of more than additive effect. So alone, you can say, if you have a lung tumor and you want to kill all the tumor cells in this patient, it's very cisplatin can only do that in 5% of the patients. It may benefit more, but only sort of getting rid of all the tumor cells, you're talking about 5%. And immune therapy alone, that can kill all the tumor cells. It's also demonstrated repeatedly in sort of 8% of the patients. But together, so the 5% is cisplatin and the 8% immune therapy is more than additive when we give it together. We're now having a 24% success rate, killing all tumor cells. And this is, of course, this is the best ever, and this is a gold standard today and excellent. But it's also obvious that still, you can say synergy is only at 25%. And if patients should not have platinum, there are other alternatives if synergy is not there. And that's basically where we are. And with our response predictor, we can demonstrate this synergy. I'll ask Claus to explain this situation.
Yeah, I'm building on Peter's comments on the previous slide here. We have tried to put up an illustration on the efficacy improvement that we deliver with our solution, our ability to identify those that will benefit and those that are not likely to benefit from the combination treatment. So if you look on the right-hand side, our illustration, and follow the arrow, then here we're having the example of nivolumab. That's one of the key immune therapy drugs. And as you can see, it's departing from a 24% efficacy rate, as Peter mentioned on the previous slide. But if we then use our technology and our solution, and we look into the tumors of the individual patients, and then we measure the likelihood of response to the combination treatment, and we actually then decide, okay, we will only treat 1 in 3, so we will measure 3 patients, but we will actually only treat the ones that having the highest likelihood of response. And by using that or doing this methodology, we will actually be able, for those that are actually being treated, to increase the pathological complete remission which is what Peter says is where the cancer is completely gone from the patient, then we are able to increase the PCR rate from the 24 without any solution to 44% PCR rate for those that are included in our process and using our solution. And that's why we put up that we are able to increase the efficacy rate by plus more than 80%. Yes, it's correct that we will also deduct the number of patients by 2/3, but if you are a newcomer to the market, this is also a very high market that you can actually approach, and you will be having a significantly better market offering, and you will differentiate your product compared to what is already golden standard in the market. Peter?
Okay.
And what is the PD-L1 market? Yes, as I mentioned before, it's a market that is expected to grow into 150 billion in annual revenue by 2032. So it's growing by more than 15% per year. We already have 11 drugs approved and more than 20 are in development. So this is an area that is taking up very much attention from both smaller pharma companies and biotech, but also the big pharma companies. And what is interesting about all these plus 30 drugs is that all of them, they look very much the same. They have as we say, they have the same mechanism of action or mechanism of action, which means that they work within the body and towards the tumor in a very similar way. And that's why it's so important to differentiate, because all of these plus 30, they have more or less the same efficacy when they are given as a standalone. The Keytruda and Opdivos, they are the ones that take up the majority of the market. Keytruda, they have more than half of the market, and Opdivo is also taking up a big chunk. And in total, the top 3 products, they are taking more than 90% of the total market of immune therapy. Peter?
Yeah. So this is not only something that's happening in lung cancer. Platinum and immune therapy is today the new gold standard of treatment. So it's changed the treatment of lung cancer, bladder cancer, of certain types of breast cancer, of head and neck cancer, endometrial cancer, and esophageal cancer, also what we call Martstub cancer. And so it's like you can say, in all cases, there is a very nice benefit of the combo, but there is also a large fraction of the patients who really doesn't have any benefit, which shouldn't be treated with platinum in this setting. So just a bit basically what we are working on is, so we need a biopsy to come up with our prediction. And as you know, the biopsy is the start of the whole cancer diagnose. Always you need to have a sample of the tumor to the pathologist, and that's also that sample that we actually can read from. So you can say rocket science, but it's actually clearly solved now and very simple. We use our analysis and look at the biopsy as the pathologists also do. The oncologists select a standard treatment, the patients undergo treatment, and you, of course, evaluate the effectiveness through follow-ups and imaging. And what we are looking at is what we have is that we now know that we know something about the biology, and it shouldn't be guesswork whether patients should have platinum or not. Our response DRP, drug response predictor, is a sort of really utilizing 205 genes. So we have, you can say, tried here to embrace the complexity. And this was actually invented by Professor Sten Knudsen, together with his colleague Thomas Jensen. They came up with this concept of looking at how the genes were actually being used instead of trying to come up with one gene that would be actually predicting. So it's human intelligence. It's not artificial intelligence, but there's no doubt that artificial intelligence is going to give us more of those options for the future. But here it's also important that we have a patent on those 205 genes, so we are protected until 2038 with this. So it gives us a test that gives the oncologist a evidence-based result that allows, you could say, individual oncology treatment plans. We've shown in lung cancer, this is before the immune therapy, where you basically give chemotherapy with platinum after surgery. So when the surgeon thinks he's removed everything, you give platinum, because very often there's still some tumor cells there. And when we look at the response predictor, our DRP, when we look at those biopsies, and when we say this patient has a score of 90, the patient has a 90% 3-year survival. If the patient has a DRP of very low, in 10, there's only a 40% 3-year survival. So that's clearly definitely, you can say, the value of the platinum and also the predictor here to identify who responds. We've also done a study in breast cancer that we published in 2023 at ASCO. And we have seen that if we're now talking about the patients that are sort of heavily pretreated breast cancer patients with metastatic disease, but the ones that were in the highest, I would say the top 20 or more than 80% of the DRP, they were the ones that had benefit. The tumors shrunk, and they also had survival, progression-free survival that was significantly longer than the ones at lower scores. So we've shown in 2 lung cancer studies and in 2 breast cancer studies, and we have the first and only, you can say, predictor of cisplatin and carboplatin efficacy out there. So it's a situation where I like to ask Claus to say, how are we going to sort of monetize that opportunity?
And of course, that's a question that we often get from particular investors. So how are you going to commercialize this? What we have intentions to do is that we would like to partner with one of the PD-L1 owners or one of the biosimilar owners. The biosimilar owners are coming into the market by 2028, when Keytruda is going out of patent. And as I mentioned, the 3 major PD-L1 owners, they share more than 90% of the market. And that means that all the remaining, they will gain significantly from a partnership from us, because they will be able to differentiate their offering towards the market. So having a differentiation from 24 to 44 or even to 34, that is of great importance when you are making an offering to hospitals or to social security globally. So we are proposing to the ones that we talk to that we actually make a solution that is based on subscription, meaning that they actually give a royalty payment based on the revenue gain that they have by using our solution. So the partners, they will be responsible for the regulatory and the commercial activities, and Chosa, we will actually be insisting at the back end of the value chain by assisting with the logistics and also delivery and the analysis of the results for each patient. And the dialogues that we have so far on a modest and very conservative level, they give an indication of 5% royalty of the revenue gain. And for example, just in lung, I think it was lung or bladder, Peter, but it's not very unlikely that a player here will have a $1 billion gain in revenue by using the PD-L1 in combination with platinum and in combination with our solution. And a $1 billion gain will actually be equal to $50 million per year in royalty payment to Chosa. And we think that is that's a very good way to look at the potential here. It's a $150 billion market, And by changing or improving for one of the players in this industry, just improving their business with 1 billion, we will have a $50 million revenue. And compared to our current market cap, that signifies the significant potential for our company of getting ahead here. Peter?
Yes, so you can say what we aim for is to stop treating patients like they were all the same. We can see that we can identify the patients that benefit from platinum. We have now initiated, and we're also basically in the middle of a collaboration with a study with the world-recognized research organization, sort of ETOP in Switzerland, with two key opinion leaders, Solange Peters and Rolf Stahl. We are working with them and basically going into a large study that they have already performed, but where we can get access to the archived biopsies. And there we can validate both carboplatin and cisplatin and also methods of measuring. And we see a readout here, as Claus also said, around Q2. So sort of very, very soon here. It's the first collaboration with the large key opinion leader group. This is, this is actually what Claus talked about before. The opportunities there's a lot of opportunities for collaboration with companies, giving them exclusivity to our opportunity here. So what we have, just you could say the inflection points of what's happening in the next 12 months. I added here that we came up with a readout in a breast cancer study in Q1 here in 25, showing that the carboplatin in breast is working for us. The readout that we expect to come here around mid-year is with cisplatin and carboplatin in lung cancer. What we now are using our proceeds for this is for going into biopsies where patients have actually received a PD-1 or a PD-L1 and cisplatin or carboplatin, and reading out, we can predict who's actually getting what you call the pathological complete remission, who's getting the benefit, who's not. And this is a collaboration that we will do with our key opinion leaders, and we expect to have a readout in Q1 of 26 on biopsies, similar to what we're doing now in Switzerland. And as Claus said, this is also going to initiate the FDA process. We are working with other studies with key opinion leaders in both breast and bladder and endometrial, in addition to the lung cancer. We have, I think, very nice support from some of the most influential oncologists in this world. We have Fred Hirsch on our board. He's the director for lung cancer at Mount Sinai in New York, and previously was the CEO of International Association for the Study of Lung Cancer with more than 15,000 members. And Solange Peters, Rolf Stahl, and Carbone are lung cancer experts. Joyce O'Shaughnessy and Martin Picard are breast cancer experts. Dr. Mirza in gynecological cancer and Galsky in bladder cancer. They all support the concept of, if we can identify the patients who benefit, we can bring oncology forward to more success. So stop treating the patients like they're all the same. Summary is back to Claus.
Yeah, so as we started out, we believe we have a unique company here with a unique offering. We have our own proprietary solution that can significantly improve the response rate and differentiation in the biggest medical or drug market in the world globally across all diseases, so the immune therapy, and we are the only one who can provide this opportunity to the players. So we believe that we will be, or we are attractive to a lot of companies out there. We have, as Peter just mentioned, we have some upcoming milestones that will have a possible inflection points to our share price, and it will also be an inflection point in attracting interest from the big pharma companies, and we can do so by a relatively limited capital need. We already have the dialogues with key opinion leaders. We have worked with research groups and pharma, and we have a road going towards guideline introduction and FDA approval. So just finally revisiting the offering, we are looking to raise 20 million. We already have the 4 million from our directed issue. For every 8 share you have in the company today, you will get 1 unit, and this unit consists of 3 shares and 3 warrants. The warrants are given for free, and for this unit you pay 1.86 SEK, which is equal to 0.62 SEK per share. The strike price for the warrants is 120% of the price per share in the subscription, so it's 0.78. We have the subscription period, which runs for another week, and if we succeed, we will have a good prolongation of our runway, as we are only taking up or spending around 7 million SEK per year. Oh yeah, per year. So I think that was it.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Thank you, Peter and Claus, for that insightful presentation. We'll now move on to the Q&A session. We've received several interesting questions from the audience. Number 1, Peter, could you tell us more about your background and what you have accomplished?
Oh, yes. So yeah, basically, I've been doing translation research since I was a young boy, and that's a long time ago. At Rigshospitalet, I was able to form the company or the group of laboratory, sort of a laboratory of experimental medical oncology. That gave us, you can say, the information that started our company, Topo Target, where we had 2 products approved by the FDA and 1 by EMA. And also the contacts to Sten Knudsen, which has actually been, you could say, pivotal for giving us those very nice nice signals for who will respond to platinum and who will not. So I've been working on the translation research since, and you can say are now a what you call a serial entrepreneur. I think the timing here has been surprisingly good. We worked with this platinum prediction for some years, but in 23 we had this sort of very, also for us, very surprising synergy seen with the immune therapies. And suddenly the whole timing of a response predictor for such an old product makes a lot of sense, more sense. I mean, it made sense before, but now it's really, really hot.
Peter, probably is also worth mentioning that you have already gotten 2 products approved by the FDA, so you know about this process and what it takes to bring towards approval and also commercialization.
Yeah, I mean that's we've been teams on that, and I think we know the hurdles, or some of the hurdles, but and also the things that are needed on quality.
Good. Could you just elaborate on why you have chosen to focus on an old product? What are the advantages with that?
It's a good question. The old product is relevant because it's still relevant, and that means that yes, you can say it's not a very costly product. I mean, it's not like platinum is not very expensive. Now we have the new immune therapies. They're suddenly costing more than $100,000 per year because they have patent coverage and they're difficult to produce. But platinum as such is not. But the fact is that NCI, the National Cancer Institute in the US, then actually estimate that more than 10% of cancer patients will be at some time point in their cancer treatment be sort of receiving one type of platinum. So it's hugely used, although it's still 50 years ago. And I do think that the efficacy, what platinum is doing is something no of the other drugs can do. So we see some new products where you have antibodies that are linked to chemotherapies, what's called those ADCs that is coming in now. They don't have platinum. They don't have this particular cell killing mechanism. And basically you got to have the most effective cancer drugs to be able to win over the cancer. So there's no foreseeable future. There's no way that cisplatin is going out.
Good. How much clinical data supports DRP today?
Yeah, I think the data we have is two very nice studies in lung cancer. One was from a sort of published study where we had access. Sten Knudsen had access to data from that published data, including how the genes were performing. And there he demonstrated that his technology was very nice in predicting who benefited. So we repeated that study at Rigshospitalet in Copenhagen with 100 patients, biopsies, and could show that this was exactly the same data as he found. We've been working with breast cancer, where we've been into you can say, prospective. That means that you basically treat patients based on the response predictor, and that's where you could see that we were able to identify very precisely that 20% of this patient population was the ones that were benefiting. And then we also have in another study we just published that carboplatin works very nicely in breast cancer, also metastatic setting. So I think we got four independent studies demonstrating that this is actually working in lung and breast. We don't know if it works in all cancers, but we've seen lung and breast as very nice, and we move into other cancers to see if it also translates. But this is also, as you know, very, very big indications, and being able to cover that is exceptional.
And Peter, isn't it worthwhile also mentioning that the development of the DRP is based on, is it 4,000 or 5,000 patient data that we have been using to kind of develop before it was finalized? So
that's correct.
Many thousand patients has been included.
So that's a fine tuning, or so that making the response predictor clinically relevant has required 5,000 patients. Yeah.
Good. Here is a question. What does the test cost?
So the cost of the test is around, with everything. So that's the cost for us, you could say, if we are running it. Today it's $1,500 per test. We can see that it's also about quantum. I mean, more will get the price down. It's a lot of money, and if we are saying that we will be testing 3 patients for taking a decision to treat 1 patient with lung cancer, that would be almost $5,000. But the other part of the equation is the immune therapy, and that is always more than $100,000. So you can say for every $5,000 spent, a partner would be able to sell their product for $100,000 for an exclusivity. So it's an expensive test, but not expensive compared to the price of the immune therapy. And it's also, when we compare to clinical trials, we have been used to, actually, when you're doing clinical trials, you have to expect that you're paying maybe $150,000 per patient going into a clinical trial. But we don't need to do a real clinical trial as such. We need to do a test on the biopsy, and that's only costing us the $1,500. I'm not saying what we will be charging for it, but this is the cost of running the test.
Thank you. Are there ongoing partnership discussions around DRP?
So that's a yes. There are discussions with pharma, and we cannot promise when you will see a deal. I've done that previously, and you have to be very careful with that because of the market expectations. But we do think that we already have an interest from pharma. We also think that when we're getting the next level of data this summer, but also next winter, when we're getting the combinations with PD-1, that we will create a situation where there will be what you call a fear of missing out, where pharma companies will be looking at and say, okay, should we see if we could get exclusivity for this opportunity for differentiation and a market dominance in those platinum-sensitive patients?
Great. I think we only have one last question, and that is, what are the key value-driving milestones we can expect in the next 6 to 12 months?
No, that's a good question, and I think this summer's results in lung cancer will be The first, where we're doing with external collaboration with key opinion leaders, is going to be very important. But I do think that the most important is what we're raising money for right now is to get the PD-1 and the platinum biopsies and come up with those data at the beginning of next year. That's really an inflection point as I see it. And then, of course, a deal.
Of course. With that, I think we will end today's session. Thank you to everyone who joined us today, and a special thanks to Peter and Claus for sharing your exciting journey with us. Before we end this session, I also want to stress that it is, of course, possible to also subscribe for units without unit rights. You can get more information either by reach out to me at Västra Hamnen or at Nordic Issuing, which is the issuing agent in the transaction. You could also talk to your own bank of how to accomplish this. If you have any follow-up questions or would like to learn more, feel free to reach out to us at Västra Hamnen Corporate Finance or directly to the company. This concludes today's webinar. Have a great day.